Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. Here is the ultimate guide for Zhu Yuan to unload the maximum pain possible as one of the most free-to-play friendly DPS characters.
You're surrounded! Stay where you are!
Lock your engine.
What do you get when you put the world's finest bakery next to a police station? Zhu Yuan. Holy shit. Zhu Yuan has got all the assets to be an incredible free-to-play friendly DPS character. She is our first 5-star Ether DPS attacker in Zenless Zone Zero. Fortunately, I've also managed to make a breakthrough with my damage optimizing algorithm to allow for just a single CLI command to bake all the buns at once. Look at all these calculations in just a couple seconds. In this video, you'll learn everything you need to know about Zhu Yuan, including her simple yet complex kit, best drives and stats, Wenjins, Bangboos, Mindscapes, teams, and even an endgame showcase. You know what I like? The world. You know what else I like? Warships. This means I especially like today's sponsor, World of Warships. World of Warships is combining waifus with giant cannon boats, aka warships, in the best way possible. The Arpeggio of Blue Steel collaboration is coming back to World of Warships with new premium ships, commanders, and skins to pound antagonistic ocean bathtubs into submission. There are new skins with fully animated commanders along with the new commander Hyuga. World of Warships provides stunning realistic graphics of giant warships blowing each other up in epic naval battle. With so many unique ship classes such as battleships and cruisers, both available in the Arpeggio Blue Steel collab, there's tons of strategic variety to inflict maximum boat-related pain to your enemies. Play solo or even co-op if you, unlike me, have friends. World of Warships X Arpeggio Blue Steel is available on console as well. Just use code ARP to get ARP containers, 7 days premium account, 2.5 million credits, and 500 doubloons. Just smash that link down below to worship the world. Huge thanks to World of Warships for sponsoring today's video.
Don't even try it! You're surrounded! Yeah!
Zhu Yuan's basic attacks are her bread and butter. She's got two modes, Assault Mode and Suppression Mode. Assault Mode is her standard default mode where you just mash the basic attack button. Most importantly, it generates an enhanced shot shell on B4 and B5, which we'll talk about in a bit. At various parts of her combo string, by holding left or right and then pressing basic attack, you'll do a fast dash attack firepower offensive where Zhu Yuan strafes to the side, dealing minor ether damage with some dodge iframes. Doing this dash attack at different parts of her combo string has different effects, which we'll go through in more detail after the basics of her kit. Next, by holding the basic attack button, she enters Suppressive Mode. Without enhanced shot shells, which is the ammo indicator in the top left, she'll do physical damage buckshots, which is not what we want. With ammo, which is also known as enhanced shot shells, indicated by the ammo indicator in the top left, she consumes an enhanced shot shell every buckshot in Suppression Mode, doing great ether damage. I'll be referring to these Suppression Mode basic attacks as SB1, short for, well, Suppressive Mode Basic 1. SB1 and SB2 each shoot 1 enhanced shot shell, while SB3 shoots 3 enhanced shot shells. Zhu Yuan can also weave in her dash attack Overwhelming Firepower during Suppressive Mode. Like Assault Mode, Zhu Yuan has some hidden, more advanced combo mechanics while in Suppressive Mode, which we'll discuss in more detail in the combo section. For Zhu Yuan to deal her damage, she needs a lot of enhanced shot shells, which is the perfect time to talk about her EX special. It deals solid damage and generates 3 enhanced shot shells. Since it costs 60 energy, from full energy, Zhu Yuan is able to perform 2 of these in quick succession. She can also generate enhanced shot shells via her dodge counter and quick assist, both of which generate 1 enhanced shot shell each. Her defensive counter, which is when you swap her on field during a shiny enemy attack, generates 3 enhanced shot shells, so Zhu Yuan is heavily rewarded for performing these. And finally, her chain attack and ultimate each generate 3 enhanced shot shells. In summary, here are all the ways she can generate enhanced shot shells. Zhu Yuan's core is very powerful, and when she enters the battlefield, she starts with 6 enhanced shot shells. Zhu Yuan's core passive gives her a ton of free bonus damage and crit. Her core gives her up to 40% bonus damage on her enhanced shotgun buckshots. and an additional 40% damage against stunned targets. Meanwhile, her faction bonus gives a massive 30% crit rate after her EX, chain, or ultimate for 10 seconds. It's also the first of its kind, requiring either any support class character to be in her party or someone from her squad, the Nips squad, of which only she's in, but Qingyi, who's coming out soon, will certainly be a part of that as well. So yeah, you really want to fulfill her passive here, as 30% crit rate is absolutely massive. Fortunately, having a support character on her team is great and easy to fulfill, so you won't have much difficulty fulfilling this. Now let's talk about some slightly more advanced mechanics. What's really cool about Zhu Yuan's kit is we can see a lot of inspiration from fighting games and their combo strings here. Let's start with her Assault Mode basic attacks. As mentioned earlier, she can perform Dash Attack, Firepower, Offensive, or just DA for short, during various parts of her Assault Mode. Here's the breakdown. Okay, I know it looks really complicated because frankly it is, but here are the tips you should walk away with. Dash attacks during her assault mode are mainly to reposition and for the iframes. These will allow you to outmaneuver your enemies and in some cases even speed up your shot shell recovery. For example, since you can replace her slow B2 with a fast dash attack, this will save around half a second to reach B4 and B5, which generate shot shells. You will do a little bit less damage though. Another cool takeaway is after B5, by simply mashing left click, Zhu Yuan will perform a forward dash attack, or alternatively by holding left or right she'll do a side dash attack, and after this dash attack, Zhu Yuan will actually continue her combo string at B3. This actually allows Zhu Yuan to loop B3, B4, B5, dash attack to generate bullets more efficiently with just her basic attack string. One trap though is using her dash attack after her B3. Doing this will actually unfortunately reset you back to B3, and you can, to your detriment, loop B3 and dash attack, which delays you from reaching B4 and B5, which generate ammo. You'll want to avoid this unless you need the dodge iframes or to reposition. Now this is definitely overwhelming at first. Her assault mode is actually very well designed with many options at your disposal, with each option actually being good in a different situation. I'm personally quite impressed by the complexity here, but it is very confusing when you start using her. Honestly, I'm still confused and I'm trying to teach you guys this stuff, but really this is one of those things where you'll learn best after you use her a lot and develop the muscle memory and have a rough grasp of what she can do. After you have a rough idea, it might be worth revisiting this segment later on. Next we have advanced mechanics for her suppressive mode. SDA or suppressive mode dash attack can be used after each part of her suppressive mode combo string. You can do this to the sides, forward, and even backwards. There are a ton of complex findings here, so I'm just going to throw it all up on the screen again for you combo nerds like me to look at. Remember from earlier how SB3 dumps 3 shells? Well, SSDA, or again side suppression dash attacks, lead directly into SB3. As such, a good starting point for all this is to do the following with 9 ammo. SB1, SSDA, SB3, SSDA, SB3. Alternating between SSDA and SB3 is a fast and effective way, which is faster than just, simply holding left click. Of course, there are a ton of different applications for this, but this is noticeably faster than without weaving any dash attacks at all. As we can see, mastery of this knowledge will lead to a very fluid playstyle, allowing Zhu Yuan to adapt to the situation as needed. With all these options, there's no question that skilled players will be able to weave in and out of their opponents while unloading her enhanced shot shells. Now, since Zhu Yuan is a ranged character, this next section is very important, as she is affected by an important ranged attack mechanic. Ranged characters in Zenless Zone Zero start to deal significantly less damage once they are at a certain distance away from the enemy. The further you are, the less damage you do. The range is shorter than you might expect for this damage decay to kick in. Zhu Yuan's damage will drop off a cliff as you move far away from your enemies. Fortunately, Zhu Yuan has many great gap closers and gap creators for you to stay within optimal range to do maximum damage, but far enough to still have some safety as well. Okay, let's actually talk about a basic starting rotation. During a boss fight, I recommend building up some enhanced shot shells before stunning the boss via the aforementioned methods. After stunning the boss, assuming you have Nicole on your team, the rotation I enjoy using is as follows. Use Zhu Yuan's chain attack to deal some chain damage and to regenerate 3 Shotshells. Then end the chain with Nicole. Since Nicole has one of the fastest chain animations in the game, Zhu Yuan can swap on efficiently via a quick assist to regenerate another Shotshell and to also have maximum uptime on Nicole's debuffs. Then you can start unloading her buckshots into the enemy. I also like doing a swap cancel during Zhu Yuan's SB3 back to Nicole, so Nicole can cast her EX skill to reapply her debuff and to efficiently quick assist Zhu Yuan back onto the field without much opportunity cost. Of course, you should play this by ear and use her ultimate and EX specials to deal solid damage and to regenerate ammo. And as a last resort, you can use her basics to regenerate ammo, assuming all your other resources are depleted, but this should generally be used outside of the stun window, or it's your last resort to generate ammo. Playing Zhu Yuan is basically a freeform art style, making decisions on the fly based on a bunch of her resources. You need to keep tabs on her ammo, her faction uptime, her signature Wenjin uptime if you have that, her positioning due to range damage decay, which part of the combo string you are in, her energy, and well, frankly, so much more. I'm thoroughly impressed by how flexible of a playstyle she has, and as players use her for longer, we'll see some really cool and fluid gameplay from her. You can tell Hoyoverse really went ham on giving her tons of options. She's easy to pick up and rewarding to master. As for her talent priority, I would prioritize her core and basics, then her dodge/dash attacks. After that, both her EX special and chain do solid damage, with assists being the last priority.
Stay where you are.
Electro engine.
Time to rest.
Phew, we can finally move on to the more straightforward parts of this guide. Starting with her crit stats and drives. For her main stats, we have the usual crit in slot 4, and it's usually crit damage to be specific. Do keep in mind that Zhu Yuan gets 30% free crit rate from her faction bonus. And her ascension stat is crit damage, so she gets 28.8% crit damage from that. Also, if you use the 4-piece chaotic metal, she'll gain another 53% crit damage in battle. So in other words, keep all these variables in mind when trying to balance your 1-to-2 crit ratio for Zhu Yuan. For slot 5, both attack percent and ether damage are great options for her. This will depend on her Wenjin. For example, if you're using her signature Wenjin, both attack percent and ether damage are basically the same. Whereas if you're using the Starlight engine, ether percent is around 4% better. Pen ratio is also not colossally behind to the point where it's unviable, so you actually do have a few options. And for slot 6, fortunately this one is completely straightforward as it's just attack percent. For substats, you'll want the usual crit rate, crit damage, and attack percent. Flat attack and flat pen are also nice to have. Now let's talk about the drive set combinations. This is still in the early stages of theory crafting for Zenless Zone Zero, so you might see some different conclusions from different creators, but my calculations and damage optimizing algorithm ended up with these takeaways. Overall, the 4-piece chaotic is the set that I recommend the most. It provides up to a massive 53% crit damage. The caveat being that you need to inflict corruption on an enemy fairly recently to get 33% of that crit damage. When you don't have a recent corruption, well, its damage sadly plummets by about 8%. The next best set overall is the Woodpecker Electro, although this one's caveat is that you really want to have your X special available to get at least 2 stacks. Still, this is a great universal option. The main reason that I recommend the 4-piece chaotic though is because you'll also be farming the incredibly great 4-piece Swing Jazz set, which is perfect for one of Zhu Yuan's teammates and is of course an incredible universal support set. You can also craft woodpeckers while you're at it. As for the 2-piece options, the 2-piece Hormone Punk, 2-piece Chaotic, and 2-piece Woodpecker are all close enough to where it doesn't really matter that much, and it's recommended for you to just choose the one that has the best substats. In fact, even the 2-piece Puffer Electro is fine to use here.
Don't even try it. You're surrounded.
Up next are the Wenjins. Breaking news! Her signature Wenjin, the Riot Suppressor Mark 6, is her best option, but just by a bit, surprisingly. This thing gives a ton of crit value, 48% crit damage and 15% crit rate. However, as we've already mentioned and gone over, Zhu Yuan gets a ton of crit value through her kit, as well as the 4-piece chaotic metal if you're using that. The main caveat and issue for the Riot Suppressor Mark 6 is that it does have some downtime, requiring you to have used your EX special for the next 8 enhanced buckshots to gain a significant amount of ether damage. Shockingly though, it's only a small upgrade over her best free-to-play friendly option, the Starlight Engine. Yeah, this is what makes Zhu Yuan such an incredible free-to-play friendly character, considering her second best option overall in my opinion is the Starlight Engine, and it performs at roughly 95% of the efficiency of the Riot Suppressor, at least without any other outside sources of attack buffs and with the current Chaotic Metal build. Now, why is Billy's favorite franchise Wenjin so powerful? Well, it gives 19.2% mega attack at Refinement 5, which is its own attack multiplier. And as we saw earlier in Zhu Yuan's kit, she has nothing to boost her own attack stat. Do keep in mind that you want to regularly use quick assists specifically to maximize this Wenjin's damage, so ending chains with your support character becomes even more important. Now the Starlight will have significant downtime, especially outside of stun windows, so there is that to keep in mind. Now I did do the math for the rest of her options, and it's worth mentioning that the Brimstone is another great option for her as well, performing roughly as well as the Starlight Engine. However, the Brimstone has ramp up time instead of downtime. Now crit rate weapons like the Cannon Rotor, Deep Sea Visitor, and the Steel Cushion will have some overcrit issues. Make sure to not go over 100% crit rate with these weapons. And if you're able to fulfill that criteria, these are decent options, but honestly I would just recommend the Starlight Engine over most of these. The Steel Cushion is interesting though, because if you're able to get 100% uptime and hit the enemy from behind the entire time, it will actually do quite well. But seriously, I wouldn't count on this as it's pretty clunky and restrictive. As for other Wenjins, honestly, again, use the Starlight Engine over the rest of the options.
Stay where you are.
Electro engine.
Time to wrap.
Up next we have her Bangboos. Specifically if you're using the 4-piece Chaotic, Razana-boo and Devil-boo are by far and away your best options. Both these Bangboos will help you apply a lot of ether and thus corruption to significantly improve Zhu Yuan's damage through the 4-piece Chaotic's passive. I personally also prefer Razana-boo over Devil-boo since its grouping ability is actually quite useful for Zhu Yuan, as she'll be able to AoE down targets more easily. If you're running the 4-piece Woodpeckers on the other hand, you can use other Bangboos instead, like Boo Resher for team energy, Magnetaboo for even better grouping, and even Butler for more energy specifically for the on-field character.
Don't even try it. You're surrounded. Yeah.
Now we have her Mindscapes, which are equivalent to Constellations in Genshin Impact, aka character dupes. Sadly, my calculations here don't fully demonstrate the viability of her Mindscape 1, since the rotation I used assumed you're going into the stun window with at least 4 ammo, as well as an EX skill available. However, it can't be understated just how great of a quality of life this Mindscape is, as the 6 extra ammo it provides every chain attack or so is very significant. In fact, against multiple targets where you can do multiple chain attacks, Zhu Yuan can get a ton of extra ammo this way. Her M2 makes her enhanced buckshots hit a bit harder, and her M3 adds 2 levels to all her talents, which is just more damage. Her M4 provides the largest damage gain, allowing her buckshots to ignore 25% ether resistance, and her M5 just adds 2 more levels again. Finally, her M6 is a bit difficult to quantify here because I'm not exactly sure exactly how it works, but it makes her EX skill cheaper and fires a few additional buckshots, making it likely a great Mindscape. By the time she's at M6R5, for those Bitcoin billionaires out there, she will now be doing around 1.91 times the damage of an M0R1 Zhu Yuan.
Stay where you are.
Electro engine.
Time to wrap.
Let's next talk about Zhu Yuan's teams. Her overall best team in my opinion also happens to be her most free-to-play friendly team, is with Nicole and Ambi. You can equip Nicole with the 4-piece Swing Jazz plus 2-piece Freedom. For Nicole's slot 6, I actually prefer Anomaly Mastery to apply ether much more efficiently if you're using the 4-piece Chaotic on Zhu Yuan, but Energy Recharge as the main stat is a great option as well. An alternative build for Nicole can be the 4-piece Freedom Blues to apply ether even more efficiently for Chaotic Metal. Ambi's build should generally be the 4-piece Shockstar Disco or 4-piece Swing Jazz if Nicole is using the 4-piece Freedom Blues. The next team variation is with Rina or Sokaku and Lycaon. Rina provides penetration and better frame data, while Sokaku provides a massive amount of attack. Since Zhu Yuan's faction bonus only requires a single support character, Rina or Sokaku fulfill this role. Lycaon is obviously, well, the best stunner in this case because he also happens to be the Victoria's Housekeeping Co., but he is incredible for his core, which increases the stun multiplier. This also looks to be an incredible team for Zhu Yuan, but do keep in mind that if you're running Ellen as well, obviously Sokaku and Lycon are going to want to be with Ellen instead. Do keep in mind though that with this team, since you don't have Nicole's Ether application, I actually recommend the 4-piece Woodpecker Electro on Zhu Yuan instead of the 4-piece Chaotic Metal. The final team variant is with Lucy and Kaleda. Kaleda is situationally the fastest stunner in the game, especially with a lot of dodge counters involved, and thereby Lucy is the best support for this team. Again, for this team, 4-piece Woodpecker Electro is recommended for Zhu Yuan.
Don't even try it. You're surrounded.
So yeah, I think Zhu Yuan has got all the assets she needs to succeed and to crush any Ether Week content in the game. Considering she's already incredible with such a free-to-play friendly team, she has the room to get even better as better supports and stunners are released for her. Now Zhu Yuan is of course without flaws, as she is restricted by ammo, and frankly she's too big of a distraction for me. Regardless, she's definitely my favorite character in Zenless Zone Zero, and I really appreciate how she is easy to Unga Boonga with and yet fun to optimize. Personally, I'm really excited to see what the community can do with her as we allow her to further bake in the oven. Let me know if I missed anything and also what you think about her down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Want to Lose, signing out.
Retargeting. They're ambushing. Move.
A little off. You asked for it.
An opening.
Bullseye. Locked on target. Time to wrap things up.
Taking the shot. No restrictions. Fire it well.
Heads up!
Don't get hit.